Everyone. Hey, Jackie, I see you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you tonight?
I'm great. So, we're going to kind of wait as people log on to tonight's personality behind the page. If you are out there and you have logged on, give us a thumbs up, a little heart, a comment, or something as we get going. We're going to see some people coming on very shortly. So I have to explain that Jackie lives in some gorgeous mountain ranges. So it is storming there tonight. And so you may see her freeze as we were doing last week or 2 weeks ago with John DeWaskin. So just know that she will be here. You can hear her, but you may not be able to see her moving, but you're here now. And I really want to introduce people to you because you are one of those authors that our world needs right now. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Jackie.
Sure. So thank you so much for that. I love being needed.
Yes, you
So
are.
I started my journey actually as a nurse practitioner when I was 23 years old. And for the first part of my career, I was prescribing medications to my patients. And maybe 8, 9 years ago, I got so discouraged because what I realized is I kept seeing the same patients over and over again.
Right,
And I'm refilling their medication and I'm adding a second or a third, but they're still coming back for medication because they're not better.
right.
And so what I did was I started looking for different options to take care of my patients and started just doing a whole lot of research on things I knew nothing about, like hypnotherapy and EFT and all these wonderful holistic healing methods. And if I freeze, just let me know and I will come in and out. So please do that for me. But
You're frozen right now, but you have a beautiful smile on, so we're good. She's coming right back with us, guys.
and
Yeah, there
um,
she is.
but what I was saying is that I got so discouraged and I looked for these different options and fell in love with these holistic options because they are really powerful and a really true way for people to take control of themselves by taking control of their minds. And so I
Right,
started my holistic practice 7.5, almost 8 years ago.
right.
And I was teaching them what I was learning. And as I was teaching them, they would ask me, like, can you write those down? I mean, that's great stuff. I want to review it later. And I'm like, no, I can't write it down. I just rattle off 40 minutes worth of stuff.
Right,
And I heard it enough times that I heard it enough times that I realized, you know what? I need to write this down. And
right.
that's how the idea of me becoming an author came about, because up until that point, I had no interest in writing.
Okay. Isn't that it's beautiful how we kind of trip into things and I see people starting to come on and I want to say hi and thank you for coming and make sure that you know that you can definitely go ahead and put a comment at the bottom. We can see your comments and we want to answer any questions you have. And if you missed it, we have Jacqui Letran, who is a fantastic nonfiction author who really is working to build confidence, to build self-esteem, to build self-love, not only for adults, but also for young adults. And that's really your target market. And as you were saying, it came from your nurse practitioner practice. And so you have a new book coming out, which I'm so excited about. Tell us a little bit more about Unleash Your Inner Superpowers.
Yes, this is the third book in this series. The series is called Words of Wisdom for Teens.
Mhm.
And this particular book really talks about how we are all born with these amazing inner superpowers, but most of us don't recognize them as such. And because we don't recognize that they are superpowers, we don't really use them to our advantage. And
Right.
so the goal of this book is to help people to realize that they were born with all the resources they need within themselves, and and teach them how to access the things that they have already, so that they can be powerful in how they live their life.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, we really do have these superpowers, these kind of innate traits that are born within us, I think. And we do really have a hard time recognizing them. And I know that as we were talking a little bit, we talked about how many steps that you tap into within this particular third book. And you had 7. We are going to do another live soon. So we were going to talk about maybe 1, 2, and 3, but possibly 1 and 2. So do you want to kind of fill us in as to what number 1 looks like? What is our number 1 superpower?
Most definitely. I wrote
Loaded
about
question.
7 of the inner superpowers that I know, right? I wrote about 7 of the inner superpowers that we have, and I picked these particular 7 because these ones are instrumental at destroying your fear and self-doubt. Mm-hmm. We have other superpowers that I didn't write about because it doesn't relate to fear and self-doubt as strongly.
Okay.
So the first inner superpowers that we all have is the power of our words, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And we don't think about our words being so powerful, but if you pause and you think about it, your words can damage a relationship so quickly. Right. Your words can cause war. I mean, how powerful is that? But also at the same time, the opposite, the positive side is there too. Your words can give a person hope. It can save a life. I mean, someone might be thinking about ending it all, and you reach out and you say, you know what? I really care about you. I'm here for you. Tell me what you need. I'll do that thing. That is just all words.
Right.
But it has the power to really impact people's lives significantly. And I think of all the inner superpowers we have, and the one I mentioned in the book, this is the most powerful one. Right. Because your words create your reality.
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
You are. It's okay. I was telling everybody too that you may have missed it that has come on, and she's going to be kind of jumping on and off. And she lives in a mountain area, and it is storming there tonight. There you are, beautiful. So it's storming, and so we're going to kind of lose connection. You know, live is always what it is, and so here we are, and you may freeze again, but that's okay, right? Because we can still hear you, so it's okay.
So let me know if I freeze. Should I just keep talking and not worry about coming in
nobody
and out?
knows. Yeah, no worries. No, you're not in and out. We can hear you, definitely. We can. So we were talking about words being a superpower, and definitely it is the most essential superpower, certainly. So do you have tips and tools in which we can take a step back and learn how to choose our words wisely?
Yes, most definitely. I think the first thing, the most critical thing is to recognize just how powerful words are, and just be aware of the words you're using, because once you become aware and you start noticing a pattern, then it's so easy, or it's easier for you to then change it, right? If you're not paying attention and you're just using words carelessly and creating all these experiences for yourself and others, that's when the damage occur. So the first thing I do recommend is just pausing and really paying attention to your words. And when you're not feeling so great, check back on the words you just used very recently. What were those words? Were they supportive and loving and encouraging words, or were they destructive words? We are our biggest bully, because think about all the time that you fail with something, right? Or you have this flaw, or so you think you have this flaw. How do you talk to yourself in those moments? Right. And for most people, when they're down, when they fail at something, the words they use is, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. You know, who do I think I am? I'm not worthy of this. Those are all damaging words that we're using. And the reason why words is such a superpower is because your word is basically like a filter. This is how I use it in the book. So think about a picture, like you mentioned that picture I took a couple mornings ago of the sunrise. It was spectacular, right?
It certainly was, yeah.
It is just like the most beautiful sunrise. Yeah. So for listeners who are here and did not see my picture, just imagine the most beautiful sunrise you can ever imagine. Right. And now look at it through the context of a word filter. If you took a filter on your phone and you make it a black and white filter, you put a black and white filter on the spectacular sunrise, what do you get? Right. All of a sudden, that spectacular, colorful, beautiful picture is now black and white. Right. Yeah. And just a moment ago, it was this bright, gorgeous picture, right? So if you were the one playing around with the pictures like that, and you put on a black and white filter, you're like, no, I like the vibrancy of the first picture. Right. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and go, oh, well, I put this filter on, I'm stuck? Or do you go, no, I'm going to try this filter and that filter and the other filter, right? Yeah. And words are the same way. Right. I think, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think that so much of our inner speak leaks into our lives, right? So being able to wrangle that, as you're saying, definitely does become a superpower, because if you are speaking to yourself in a negative tone, doesn't that happen though, that you don't hold space for yourself, but also for the people that you're interacting with? So is there a place that you say to yourself, hey, what does that look like? How do you start, the method, the steps to correct that inner speak so that it doesn't leak into your everyday?
So one of the things that I love is the power of the words I am.
Mm.
Because anything that you put behind the word I am becomes your reality. That's your creative words. Those are your declaration to your mind and to the universe. This is who I am. This is what I want.
Right.
So if you want to start with that kind of languaging, start with the I ams. So when you go into a situation where you're nervous, instead of saying, I'm so nervous, and then seeing your whole experience through the lens of nervousness,
Right.
you can start changing those I am to something more positive. And even if you're nervous, that's okay. You can definitely be nervous, but you can use different filters and create a different experience. So you can say something like, you can even say, I am nervous, but I'm willing to be calm. I'm willing to enjoy myself. I'm willing to have a different experience. I mean, what pictures come to your mind when you say, I'm so nervous, period, versus I'm so nervous, but I'm willing to have a good time.
Right. So adopting a new mantra, basically, I am ... whatever it may be, changing it from a negative self-speak to a positive self-speak. So it then bleeds into your everyday life, basically.
Definitely. And if you can't go straight to a positive, because a lot of my clients, they're not ready to go from I hate myself to I'm freaking fantastic.
Right.
So you can start at a neutral place.
Right.
You can definitely just start as I'm willing to like myself.
Mm-hmm.
That feels a little bit better. And the picture that your mind come up when you say I hate myself versus I'm willing to like myself is completely different.
Absolutely. What's your take on, especially with having your hands on clients for so long and seeing that end result of needing another medication and not really taking that moment to really identify the true problem and learn your communication skills and definitely your superpowers? What do you see as the identifier, especially for young adults? Are you seeing that it is media? Is it that they are too engaged in social media or their electronics, or even the fact that we aren't really taught anymore true communication skills or even have access to materials anymore as much as you and I did when we were growing up? Is that something you're seeing and really seeing that come through on not maybe owning some of our superpowers?
Yes and no. That was a very loaded question too. You're so good about asking like these super loaded questions.
That's journalism for you, baby.
Right? But the thing about information, and you mentioned that, we had more information. I don't think we did.
Right.
I think the teens and youth of today have so much more information than we ever did.
Yes.
And everything is at their fingertip. They can access it 24/7 about anything, anywhere, right?
Okay.
So they're almost in information overload.
Right.
So they don't really take the time to process information the same way that you and I might have the opportunity to back then.
Right.
And then trends, right? Back, I don't know how old you are, but back when I was a teenager, we didn't have cell phone. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Facebook and things just, like there all the time.
Right.
So when something happens, the trend isn't as enormous as it is now.
Right.
So unfortunately, sometimes it becomes trendy to be depressed.
Right.
It to be trendy to be anxious. And even a person who is not depressed or might not be anxious, when they start adopting the trend, they can push themselves into that state with the power of their words. Because now if you want to be cool, because the cool kids are all, anxious kids or depressed kid or whatever, then you start creating those experiences in your mind. And the more you think about yourself a certain way, the more you become that way. It's like, you can lie to yourself. You can lie to yourself enough times, and then you suddenly believe in your lies.
Right.
And I see that as a dangerous trend in young adults a lot.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that, you know, obviously what you feed yourself, you certainly can produce out in the world. You know, your inner light shines whatever you're feeling, whether you are intending to do that or not, it certainly happens for sure. So you spoke about the mantra I am and using that in daily practice to change that and to harness that superpower of using your words correctly. Is there anything else within that kind of subset of power number one that you suggest that we do, adults or children?
It's just really being intentional in the words that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing about the mind that I didn't know, that I find very interesting, is that your mind is always listening to you for the command. And whatever command you give, it's going to scan your environment and look for the evidence that match that command for you. Okay. So the thing about the mind that surprised me, though, is that in order for it to understand what you're commanding, it has to be able to make some kind of visual representation. And it doesn't know how to make a negative visual representation. So for a moment, just, like in your mind, Danielle, think about, holding on a cup of coffee. Can you make a picture of yourself holding on to a cup of coffee?
I can. Here it is.
Make a picture in your mind. Don't do it. Right? But even if you don't physically pick it up, in your mind, you know exactly what that looks like, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
But so now make a picture in your mind of don't spill the coffee. Can you make that picture?
Actually, I can't. Oh, yeah.
Because there is no picture of don't spill the coffee.
Yeah. No, I mean.
So usually when people say, I told. Always thinking about coffee. I love that comment. Thank you for that. But when you say don't spill the coffee, a lot of my clients initially would say, I can make that picture. Yeah. And I would ask them, well, how does that picture look like? And they say, well, I'm holding onto the cup tightly. Well, that's a picture of you holding onto the cup tightly. It is not don't spill the coffee.
Right.
So the point to that whole thing is this: when you are angry and you want to give the command of not being angry anymore, but you say, I don't want to be upset, your mind doesn't understand don't. So it's going to make the pictures of the thing it does understand, which is I and upset or I and angry. Right. So now your mind think that the command you're giving it is, I want to be angry, even though you said, I don't want to be angry. Right. So really focusing on the results you want rather than the thing you no longer want is really important when we talk to ourselves and with others.
That's such a bold and amazing statement. I mean, it really is. Like, what do I really want? What is my intention? I am ... verse I don't want to spill that coffee. That's a beautiful piece of advice. So I know that we talked about, so that's number one. Are we ready to go to number two? Can you spill it?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Number two is the inner superpower of your body. And when I'm talking about the body, I'm not talking about how beautifully dressed you are or what dress size you are. I'm talking about how you carry yourself. Okay. So, a lot of the clients I have are anxious clients or depressed clients and clients with low self-esteem. And so if you think about a person who have low confidence going into a social situation that they're nervous about, how would they hold their body?
They always look down at their shoes, right? They're looking at the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're looking at their shoes. They're looking around. They're not making any eye contact. They might have their arms across their chest. They might be shuffling their feet, but the whole body position look to an outsider as a very uncomfortable, very unconfident person. Right. And how you feel about yourself, like you said, is transmitted outwardly. So if you don't feel good about yourself, you don't feel confident in yourself, people can see that. Now, if you felt unconfident in a situation and you're looking down and you catch yourself doing that and you use the inner superpower of your body and you stand up tall and you relax your shoulders and you gaze straight ahead and you smile, what does that do to you immediately?
It raises your vibration, right? Because that is an immediate brain signal, as you said, to really pick up your energy, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But that's something that, again, that we all have and we can all do, but we don't think about it in that way because
Right.
in the moment we're scared or we're nervous about something, we want to protect ourselves. And the way that we protect ourselves way back when in the caveman day is to make ourselves as small as possible so that, that big predator is not going to see us. And even though the predator is not there, the social situation is now the predator.
Right.
And so when you're scared, your body automatically go into that self-protection and close in and make yourself small.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you catch yourself doing that, all you have to do is just open up. Think about, being strong. And in the book, I talk about, watching sports and watching how the athlete enters the field or the, whatever game that they're in.
Right.
Imagine a boxer walking into his match with his arms across his chest and looking down.
Right.
Can you imagine a boxer doing that?
Yeah. Not very intimidating for sure.
What would happen to him?
Right. Knocked out.
He would get killed.
Right.
Exactly. But what does he do? How does he enter the ring? Mm-hmm. He is jumping up and down. He's pumping his arms up and down. He might be talking smack. I mean, the energy that he brings with him onto the ring is expansive, is powerful, right? And so if you want to learn how to harness this inner superpowers of your body, watch athletes. They're so good about using their body to pump them up to create that confidence and that self-belief during the game. Right. And that's something that's so easy to do. Watch them and do what they do.
Right. So that brings to mind just one thing that, if I am feeling a little bit nervous or a little bit anxious about something, I know that I have something that's within me that that I use to calm down. And that's one, take a deep breath and allow myself a 5 count to really step back. And then I also have certain sounds and music that I can turn on and literally raise that vibration. So is that what you're talking about, is really sort of tools within your path, within these superpowers, as to raise that vibration as well?
So I didn't mention those specific ones because those ones are outside of yourself.
True.
Those are still choices you're making, and the choice you make is internal, is inside. But I wanted to really showcase the stuff that you have within yourself that you can do. The breath definitely is an inner superpower, not one that I mentioned, but I totally should have. I use it in other classes that I have.
You're free
I didn't mention in this particular book. I'm not kidding. Editing tonight. it's launching and it's done.
Right. Just kidding.
But seriously, like the breath, that is part of your words and your body, because you have to use your word to say breathe, right? You have to have that intention to say breathe. And then you have to use your physical body to then start really slowing down and taking in those really big, deep breaths, and maybe holding it for a count of 3 to 5 and then letting it go slowly and repeating that. So even though I didn't mention that specific exercise, that's definitely using the power of your words and your body together.
Yeah, definitely. So are there any other ideas behind this, words or using your body language to definitely put yourself out in the world within those scopes that you can share with us that we should be looking for, that we do maybe even subconsciously?
So the subconscious part is the closing up automatically when something negative is going on for you, right? Sure. So kind of quickly, the way that I explain it is this: your mind have these program that it runs, and your body have a matching program. So for every emotion, there's a mind program and a body program. So anytime you have a negative mind program, sadness or fear, the mind's program would run, and it would continue to keep you in that loop of sadness by replaying past things that cause you sadness. And is projecting potential things that can happen in the future that cause you to be sad, to keep you in that loop of sadness. And as your mind sad program is running, the body sadness program runs at the same time, and you close up, and all you want to do is curl up in bed and, not want to move. And if you just get out and go to the gym, you'll feel so much better, but you stay in bed, right? Because the mind and the body program is working together to keep you at that constant state. And the reason that your mind is always working to keep you at that constant state is that the way that the mind protects you is that it doesn't want you to change, because change is scary and dangerous to your subconscious mind.
Right.
And it really believes that anytime you try to change, you put yourself at risk for hurt or rejection or some pain.
Right.
So it's going to do everything it can to keep you in the same position. So when the mind and the body position are running in tandem automatically, you stay in that same state. But this is a trick that works incredibly well, is that if you change your body's program into a strong, powerful program, without even changing the thought up here, you will break that pattern, because those programs have to run together. So if you're having, one of those super sad days and you're thinking about all these painful things and you're super sad and you're just like, in bed, cuddle up like this, and you want to do something about it, you want to change, all you have to do, even if you're just still in bed, is start to open up, right? Be strong in your body, firm up your muscle, and notice how strong you are. And all of a sudden, you're running a different body's program. Instead of running the same weak program, you're running a strong program.
Right.
And when the mind and the body don't run the same program, the mind get confused. And when it get confused, it let go of that emotion, and then you can choose something different.
That's a beautiful thought, isn't it? I mean, it's really simple, but yet, like you said, we don't really necessarily think about it. We don't really know that it's there. And so if we kind of learn to reprogram and use those superpowers, it really does turn into something beautiful. And as we talk about this, there's something else that comes to mind, is the fact that you wrote the book in a workbook format. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. I love just the concept of different things. But if you read about all these amazing concepts and you don't apply it, guess what? You're going to forget it after a day or two. But if you have these exercises and you're spending the time, investing your time in yourself doing these exercises, you're going to really realize as you're doing the exercises, wow,
right,
I can see how this worked. Wow, I'm feeling different already. And when you can have that proof for yourself, you are much more likely to then continue on with that thing you just learned. And the more time you practice it, and those exercises I have allow a lot of room for practicing. And the more time you practice, the more it just become a natural part of you.
right.
I mean, if you are an anxious person, guess what? You practice being anxious so much that it just becomes a natural part of you.
Right.
And you can practice being not anxious and it'll become a new part of you.
Right. Yeah. I always, one of the things that when I am speaking, and especially talking to children, and I know that you must do the same, I always say practice makes progress. Never perfection, because we never want to get there, right? But it does make progress. So like you said, can we reprogram that brain a little bit to go ahead and change the filter, like you were talking about the picture? Really beautiful. And so as we talk about this book, you're really, everybody watching, are hearing tips and tools that aren't even out yet. So talk about your release. It's right around the corner, a few days, right? Jacqui, did we lose you? All right, I think we did lose her. So she may come back on, but if not, you can get Jacqui's book on November 15th, and you can go to her website, JacquiLetran.com, I believe. If that's not correct, then I will definitely post it at the bottom. And also know that you can get it through Amazon, and I believe other retailers as well. And it's definitely a place that you want to hold some space, take some time to read about your inner superpowers and how to unleash them. And Jacqui, I'll catch up with you if you are here. Oh, I think she might be coming back on, maybe not. Definitely go in and take a look at Jacqui's website. She has 2 other books, as she mentioned, within the series, and they are fantastic. They also relate to self-love, self-confidence, and harnessing the powers within. And thank you so much for everyone for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.